What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the 40K Cafe. And I was going through my archives of requests and I found this request from T. So, first off, I'm sorry for the super late reply, but let's get into it. After the Horus Heresy, Vulcan, like many of the brothers that survived, would partake in the Great Scouring, hunting down and eliminating the traitorous forces that still occupied Imperial space. At some point, he decided to separate from the Salamanders, only quoting that he would return when he was needed and it was the end times. Sometime after his disappearance, approximately 1,500 years later, the War of the Beast would occur. And a quick rundown, the War of the Beast was that of a great greenskin that would end up leading one of the greatest wars the Imperium would ever counter. Amidst the assault of this great war, Vulcan would be found on a planet Caldera, single-handedly fighting off the greenskin menace. He would be slain and then regenerate time and time again while fending off this great wall. Eventually, it wouldn't be long before the Inquisition would discover of his return as well as his actions against the greenskin. And naturally, as one can imagine, the Inquisition would request his aid against the greenskin menace. But Vulcan would reject their pleas to lead the counter-assault against the Great Beast. His conditions would be to only lead the counteroffensive once Caldera was saved, for he swore ages ago that he would always be there to protect it. And eventually that is exactly what would happen. Vulcan would successfully defeat the forces of the Greenskins on Caldera and then eventually make his way to Terra to regroup. Upon arriving to Terra, though, he would scold those of the High Lords of Terra, berating them for the state of the Imperium and their inefficiency to successfully protect it. Nonetheless, as promised, he agreed to lead the counteroffensive against the forces of the Beast. The homestead of the Massive Wall would be located on a very famous location in the Imperium's history, Olinor. And once arriving, Vulcan would immediately leap into the fray, slaughtering many of the Greenskins in his wake. Eventually, the battle would lead Vulcan to the Temple of the Greenskins, where the Great Beast was hidden, or rather located. He wasn't really hiding. Here, Vulcan would encounter the Great Beast. He spoke perfect High Gothic, was said to be nearly 10 meters tall, and within his high temple in front of Vulcan even gloated that humanity was on the brink of destruction. Vulcan would then leap into action, raising his hammer against the Great Beast. These two titanic figures would clash like no other, and eventually find themselves dueling over the great power generator that lied within the temple. During the scuffle, Vulcan would tackle the Great War Boss, plunging them both within the power generator located within the temple. Here, Vulcan would become imbued with the raw power of the Wa that seeped through the generator. Empowering his strength and that of his hammer, Vulcan would launch one last final attack against the War Boss's skull. And once his hammer made contact, it would result in the absolute devastation of the generator, causing a chain reaction to explode the whole temple. This would be the last sighting of Vulcan. The Inquisition would even mark his great sacrifice as that of a hero. Nothing was left at all, and the explosion was believed to completely destroy the Primarch entirely. And despite his supposed deceased status, his loyal sons still hunt for him to this day, believing that he will return once they find all of his artifacts. The actions that Vulcan took during the War of the Beast quite possibly saved the Imperium, and without him, the lore of the very great Imperium that we know today would have never existed. With that being said, thanks again T for the request, and I hope you all enjoyed this video. Drop a comment if there's anything you guys want to hear about next, and as always, remember to follow for more.